Okay, this is Michelle with Michelle Bell's Gaming, and also the Doors and Dungeons Retro Gaming Podcast, and today I'm going to teach you a little bit about the PC-88 and how to write disk images. So, say you've got some disk images from the internet, and you've got a real PC-88 machine, and you really want to find out, how can I put these disk images onto a disk? Well, I'm going to teach you how. So, there's two things you're going to need. The first, I'm going to show you here. Now, looking at the back here, one of the first things you need to do is you need to have this. This is a serial cable, and it's going from this COM port here on my more modern computer, slightly more modern computer. This is a Core 2 Duo Extreme running Windows 7. And that is just that's the smaller pin one. I don't remember how many pins that is. 9 pin, I think. And the other side is going to here. This is the COM port on here, RS232C. And this COM port here, it just goes right into the PC-88 system. Okay? So you do need to have that link in order to do this transfer, because what this system is going to do is it's actually going to connect through that COM port to the other PC, and the other PC is going to send software directly through that COM port. The PC-88 can load code directly through here, which is really, really nice, and is the only reason we could do this. Now, the second is this program here that you see on the left. This is called XDiskWin. I think it's XDiskWin 2, actually, okay? And this is a new version of a program called Transdisk by someone named CISC, C-I-S-C, I think it is. And this version works, I believe, for Windows 2000 or earlier. So, yeah. So, let me talk to you a little bit about the PC-88 model and the disks and that sort of thing. So this is my machine here. You can see this is a MR model. And the important thing about that is the M models. All of the M models had 2 HD floppy drives instead of 2D or 2DD, however you want to call it, drives. So to show you the difference, so here's some floppy disks here. This is a 2D, double-sided, double density, and this is a 2HD. This is double-sided high density. And the high density disks can hold more data on them, but with PC-88, none of the software is actually going to use that much. So it doesn't really matter which of these you use, but your drives do need to support 2HD if you're going to use 2HD disks. The HD disks are more common, but you do have to have an actual drive that supports them, because if you use a drive that doesn't support it, it won't format properly. It has something to do with how the magnetic head reads the high density disk. The lower density drives do not have the power needed or the magnet strength needed to actually write those disks. So yeah, you should have 2D if you're going to use one of the F models or the SR or something like that, or if you're using an MR, a VA, MA, any of those, you should be fine with the 2HD. But one other thing, if you use a 2HD disk like this one, you have to format it first, and you have to format it in this drive in the special software for that. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, because in order to do that, you need to have one of these disks. This is the PC-88 N88 Basic System Disk. And these were limited. They came with the system, so you can't just get one of these. If you do have one 2D disk, you can probably find an image and you can write it to a disk and then use that to load the disk utility and then format your HD disks. So at the very least, you're going to need, if you don't already have one of these, you're going to need one 2D disk to write this software onto, so that you can then format these disks. So keep that in mind. But as long as you have that, you can make these 2 HD disks work in this system. Okay, This first step here is formatting the disk, and you only have to do this if you have a 2 HD disk, or if you just really want to format your disk for some reason. For 2Ds, you don't really have to do that because the program that writes the disk will overwrite anything that's on it. So you don't really have to do that for the 2Ds, but you do have to do it for the 2 HDs. If you don't do that, or if you forget to do that, it will write the disk, but the disk won't boot when you try and put it in the system. So it will look like it's done it, but it actually doesn't. So what we're going to do first is we're going to put our N88 basic disk in the drive 1, and just for the reference, the right drive is drive 1, the left drive is drive 2. Okay? So we'll put our N88 disk in drive 1. Okay? And we're going to put our blank disk in drive 2. Put that there. Okay, and now I'm just going to hit reset and reset it and start loading. And this is going to load us in the disk version of N88 Basic. You can see there it says disk version and it has a date. I think there's a way you can change that date, but I don't remember what it is. Okay, so now let me switch keyboards here. I've got my Windows keyboard in front. I'm going to move that, and I'm going to pull my PC-88 keyboard out. Okay, so hit enter, and we're now in the N88 Basic mode with the disk, and that gives us extra commands that we wouldn't normally have. So first, there's files. Click that, hit that there, and you can see all the files. Now what we need to do is we need to load one of these files. We need disk utility 2, dskut2.j88. So you can either type load in lowercase, or you can hit F1. If you see in the bottom left, there's the little block that says load and has a quotation mark. Those 5 white boxes down there are your 5 F keys, F1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on your keyboard. So they're shortcuts. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit F1. That gives me load. Okay. Now I'm going to type in our utility, dskut, type it in correctly, 2 dot, and last time I did this I hit a comma instead. There we go. Okay. Yeah, good. Dot J88, and close the quotation mark, and then hit enter. And then you wait for a second while it loads. Of course, this is floppy disk, so it takes a little bit. You know, these are floppy disks. Excuse me. I should use my correct English there. So it's going to take it a little bit. Okay, it's loaded. So now this program is in memory, and you can type run, or you can hit F5. Okay. And this says that it's reading the program. And here we go. Disk utility, it says. Okay. So, let's see. Number 1 is floppy disk copy. Number 2 is make a system disk. Number 3 is make a data disk. Number 4 is something about the ID sector. I'm not sure what that one does. And number 5 is quit. We need to make a data disk, so number 3. And hit enter. Then it says which drive is the new floppy disk set in, and it's set into drive 2. Be very careful if you don't have your data disk, your in your N88, basic disk copy protected. If you don't have the write protection on, if you hit the wrong drive, you could overwrite it. So be careful. Always put the little tape over the hole on your floppy drive to write protect your N88 system disk. If you don't know how to do that, you should look it up. It's really simple. There's just a notch on the right side of the disk, and you just cover that notch up with tape, and then it's write protected. Anyway, okay, so drive 2. So let's hit 2. Okay, and then it says, do you want to format? We want to hit yes, because we do want to format. And then it says, so you're going to format drive 2, is that okay? And we hit yes. And it's going to say what's formatting. Okay, and this will take a little bit, not too long. I would hum a song, but I'm probably not the best song hummer. And my nose is acting up a little bit tonight, so there's important information for you as we do this great and glorious task of formatting a disk. What's that, Michelle? Is something wrong with your nose? No, it's fine. Why are you talking? I don't know, because blank space? Empty space in the video? That's boring. So I'll just say stupid stuff while it's formatting. And there we go. So this question is, do you want to continue using the disk utility? We've finished formatting our disk, so we'll hit N for no. If you wanted to format more disks, you could hit yes and go back to the main menu. Okay, now we need to go to step 2, and this is where you start, whether you have a 2D or 2HD. Okay, doesn't matter. So we're going to take out both of these disks. So remove the disks from your drives in your PC-88. And also make sure that you've got the XDiskWin software open. We do, so that's good. So take out your disks. Okay. Just to make it easier, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this blank disk out here. I'm going to keep it in my hand. We're going to hit the reset button. And, or you could turn it off if you need to, but reset's, the easy way to do it. Okay. And now what it's going to do is it's going to sit here and it's going to wait for a disk. And if there's no disk in there, eventually it will just load up the basic ROM that's built into the system. And that will give you a very limited version of BASIC without the commands that we just used, like the files and lists and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so once it's reached this where it says how many files, you can just hit enter. And now you're in the thing. At this point, the red light should still be on your floppy drive, on your drive 1, because it's still looking for a disk. Okay. At this point, we need to put in our disk. It's very important that you put in your disk before you start loading the software, because this system actually looks to see if there's a disk in there, and if it doesn't find the disk, the program won't work properly. So after you're at this point, then you put in your disk. It'll try to read, and then the red light should go away. Okay, so we're good now. Okay. Next, we need to go to your Windows program here, and you're going to click this middle button in the top bar there. It's select mode. Okay, and you need to be in the first one, 88 system. So I can't quite read it from here, but 88 system communicate, I think it says. Not sure. Okay. Good. So we're in that. Now, on your PC-88, you need to hit load. You can do your F1 key there. Then in all caps, you're going to type COM semicolon N81X and in quotation marks. So that's load COM semicolon N81X quotation marks. Hit enter, and then it's going to wait for a software to come through the COM port. And on your Windows computer, you're going to hit this button here. This is the start button. Okay, this button right here. Make sure, of course, that you're on this first option and hit the start button. And it's going to say, did you type load COM 81X? And you say yes, and you hit OK. And then there's a little progress meter right here. Tells you what % you're at. While we're waiting, I'm going to apologize for the video quality because this capture device that I'm using is actually downscaling the PC-88 to S-Video and then connecting it to a very cheap capture device that's then scaling it back up. So it doesn't look great, so apologies for that. But whatever. Okay, so we're finished. Now you can hit F5 on our computer and hit enter to run. Okay. So now we are in the software. This is TransDisk88. And the old version of it was for DOS. The newer version is for Windows. So it doesn't matter that it's one says TransDisk and one says XDiskWin. X in this case meaning trans, like transfer, like a cross or something, like crossing. So XDiskWin. I guess they shortened it instead of calling it TransDiskWin because that's really long. Sorry, I'm rambling. Okay, next we need to choose what game we're going to write. So first, let's switch ourselves into write mode. So we've got ROM file, read, or send, I'm not really sure how that works. I don't really know. This is disk image read. So if you wanted to put in a disk and turn it into a disk image on your computer, you could do that. I don't know how well it works yet. I haven't had much time to really test that out with any real software. And then this fourth option, this is disk image write. And you can tell because it has a W beside it. Okay, select that. Then here this says file name. You're going to press these little ellipses here, otherwise known as 3 dots. And we're going to select a image that we want to write. I'm going to choose Tretorn by Zanesoft because I don't think anybody in the world owns the license for this game anymore, and also it's one disk. So there we go. Really easy, short and simple. Okay, hit open. Okay, actually before I do that, I'm going to show you I'm going to show you here. So this bar here, if there was a game that had more than one disk in one file, sometimes a D88 file actually contains like 2 or 3 disks in one file, and you can switch between them. If there was more than one disk, it would show up here, and you could actually switch between them this way. You can see here it says 1, there's only 1, and it's a 2D disk, so okay. But if you wanted to, you could switch between them. You could use this little bar here to also switch. There's only 1, so that's fine. Here, this one here says drive, okay, and this is important. So drive 1. So that means we're going to write to drive 1, which is good. This says media, and you can choose if you want to say 2D, 2HD. You can choose that there, but the first option is automatic, and I recommend just leaving it on that. Okay. We're going to hit start, and now on our PC-88 system, you see it says connected to host system. Okay, and it says over here in Windows, PC-88 drive 1, insert the disk, the blank disk that you want to write to, into the PC-88 drive 1. I read it backwards, and press OK. Okay, and now it says disk in drive 1 is 2D, writing track 1, and then 2, and so on. And you can see on the Windows here, it's kind of hard to see probably, but it says track 0 sectors, track 1, 2 sectors, and it shows you how many sectors. If there's an error, it will show you. It'll say here like too difficult to write or something like that, and you can tell it you got an error. These are all working fine, so that's good. Usually when there's an error, it means either you didn't format the disk properly, like your 2HD, and it couldn't read or write very well, or some games, like I know the Dragon Slayer game, the very first Dragon Slayer, apparently has a bad rip, and so when it tries to write this one sector, it just doesn't write properly, and you can never get the game to load. So that's really annoying for me, because I really, really want to play the first Dragon Slayer on an actual piece of hardware, and the game itself is really hard and expensive to find, so it would have been really nice to do that, but oh well. So we're on track 32, 33 now. There's 83 tracks on a 2D disc, and it doesn't matter if you're in 2D or 2HD because you're writing 2D's worth of data. So it's going to just go to 83 and it's going to stop. It's not going to try doing any more than that. And it does take a few minutes, so you really have to, plan this out and make sure that you're doing the right thing, or you waste some time. And if you're writing a whole bunch of disks, it's a little bit time consuming. But, whatever. It's better than nothing. I think this is actually really cool software. So, yeah, the idea that you can load a basic program through the COM port of a PC-88 using a Windows 7 PC, and then use that to send instructions over to write sectors directly onto a floppy disk, and then load that disk in the PC-88 is really cool. That's like a long, hard sentence to even say, but yeah. So we're writing to our disk here. We're in the 70s. It shouldn't take too much longer. And then we'll just reset, and I'll show you it loading as soon as it's done. This is a game called Tretorn. It's a little action RPG kind of deal. The MSX version is notoriously bad. This version is actually pretty good. It's actually playable, which I was really surprised by when I first played it. Okay, so we're finished here. You can look down here, and it says unformatted. Usually the last 3 or 4 tracks will do this. It just means there wasn't any extra data there, so they didn't use the whole space, so it just says unformatted. And it just wrote nothing, basically. So those last tracks that are unformatted usually go really, really fast because there's no data to actually write. Okay, so we're done. If you wanted to, you could load up another image, put in another disk, and continue by just hitting start, and it would start the whole thing over again. You don't have to restart the process or anything like that. You can keep using this software from here. But I'm going to show you Tretorn now, so I'm going to hit reset on my PC-88. And it's going to magically load up Zanesoft, which is spelled S-E-I-N, or sometimes it's spelled X-E-I-N, or sometimes it's spelled X-A-I-N. And it's a long, confusing story that nobody knows the real answer to, but I have heard a legend, a myth, that this company was partly owned by Yakuza. And so games that were funded by the Yakuza were spelled one way, and games that were funded by their main company were spelled a different way. I don't know if that legend is true or not, but it's something that I heard. Zanesoft is a really weird company that made really, really weird games. Okay, so here we go. Tretorn, a real-time role-playing game. And you probably can't see this on the capture, but the waterfall effect is mind-meltingly fast. It's like seizure-inducingly fast flicker on here. But anyway. So let's load this up, and you can see, I don't think this one uses the joystick, but yeah. So you can see it's loading just fine. Again, keep in mind you do have to have a drive with a that can use the 2 HD discs. If it can't, it just won't work right. So keep that in mind. If you're looking to buy a PC-88, I do kind of recommend, if you want to do this and you don't want to spend extra money on 2D discs, you want to get some 2 HDs because they're a little bit cheaper usually. Get a system that's an M or a VA, but not one of the Fs or the SR. Here we go! Yay! So that's Zanesoft's Tretorn, written from a Windows 7 PC directly to a PC-88. And I am Michelle with Michelle Bell's Gaming. And I will put a link to Patreon in the description if you want to check out the Doors and Dungeons Retro Gaming Podcast, where I talk about the PC-88 and the PC-98 and MSX and other fun things like that. And, of course, retro games as well. You can do that. I'll put a link to that in the description as well. And I will see you next time when I'm going to teach you how to write discs for the PC-98. And maybe in the future I'll do one for the MSX as well. But that's to be determined. So thank you, and see you next time.